What makes most women start a business? Is it passion, money, or freedom? Welcome to the Female Founders, the podcast that takes you behind the scene with women who are founders and CEOs to help you start and scale a successful business of your own. I am your host, Nagilia de Ravin. Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Female Founders. Today's conversation will be with Sarah Frank, the founder of Primera Consultant. Sarah went from being a teen without a high school diploma and at one point homeless to becoming a respected safety consultant for small businesses across Canada. The story is real, raw, and full of the kind of determination you don't often hear about. Good morning, Sarah. Thank you so much for giving me that opportunity to have this conversation with you. And I'm looking forward to learning more about all the great work you have been doing. How are you doing today?
I'm really good. Thanks so much for having me here today.
You have had a powerful journey from being homeless to starting your own consultant firm. Can you walk us through that turning point in your life?
I was a pretty bad kid. I was a little bit wild, a little bit crazy, kind of crazy for a female, we'll say. And it took me a little bit of time to get onto the right path and kind of figure out what I wanted to do with my life. I actually ended up in accounting somehow, which is pretty funny because I'm actually terrible at math. So how I ended up landing that job and getting into that role is beyond me. But that role made me realize that I was good at something else, and it was policy development, working with other individuals. And the organization I was with at the time actually funded my education in occupational health and safety. So they kind of saw a strength in me that I guess I never really saw at the time. They ended up paying for me to travel through school and work at that organization. I was there for, I think, 4 or 5 years, actually. And then, I just kind of hit the glass ceiling there and have been continuing my education and working in the field of occupational health and safety for 10 years now. So, yeah.
But you said when it's come about homeless, you mentioned that you were a bad kid. By the way, I think we all were bad kids. I'm super guilty on that. So how did you become homeless?
So I was younger. So I was about 16 or 17 years old. And I think my parents just kind of had enough of me and they were like, okay, done, get out, figure out your life and kind of go from there. And it was this one moment, I was sitting at a bus stop and somebody had actually gave me enough money to get on the bus. And that was almost like the turning point. I think sometimes you need to hit rock
the rock
bottom to recognize where you are. So that was kind of the turning point. That was where I got the support that I needed. My parents welcomed me back into their home. And I had never actually graduated high school. So a lot of people don't know that. But I had to wait until I was a mature student, so the age of 21, to go back to university. So I had worked a couple jobs here and there, kind of getting my life back together, figuring out what I wanted to do. And then when I was a mature student, I was able to go back to school, kind of found, the joy in health and safety and that kind of stuff. So, yeah.
That's pretty much how you get them all together, huh?
Yeah. If only that was easy. And sometimes people ask me, they're like, if you could go back in time, do you think you would change what happened, or would you change the life that you had? And I honestly don't think so, because I think it's that resilience that makes a really good, business owner and that kind of stuff. So not a chance.
I think sometimes we have to go through things to get to where we want to be. Let's say you are raised and you have everything you need. You never really have to go through any hard time of life. Actually, I feel like most kids that I met in my age, that I work with that were rich, they don't have the same experience that I had because everything was hinting to them, right? Compared to me, I had to work to earn them everything I need.
Yes.
So I think that's what makes us who we are because we work hard. We understand the value of certain things in life and how important they are for us.
Yeah, it absolutely it's crazy how it all kind of works out at the end of the day and everything kind of falls into place and obviously I don't want to say luck is part of it, but I think sometimes, individuals who have to go through things like that, like we do have a little bit of luck kind of on our side or somebody looking out for us and that's how we kind of get through it. But yeah.
But getting kicked out and then you're on your own, I have to say those were almost like the hardest time. So what helped you stay motivated during the hardest time?
Like, I honestly don't know. Like, I don't know. No, you know what? No one's ever asked me that before. And I think honestly, it's maybe something inside individuals or something you have in you that kind of like pushes you. Like I feel like I have this motor inside me that's always like, okay, I hit this point. Now I need to go like 10 levels higher. Okay, I've accomplished this and now I need to hit this goal to feel satisfied. And it's funny because every time I hit those goals,
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I'm not satisfied. This wasn't it. I need to keep going. So I think it's honestly like an internal drive that was like, okay, like this obviously isn't a life. This means nothing. This isn't who I want to be or who I am. So keep kind of like pushing. And maybe
Fighting,
it was
yeah.
like that rock bottom that was finally like the wake up call, like, Sarah, get your stuff together and, get a job, group your
That
life,
would be, yeah.
figure it out.
A lot of people that get into your situation, some of us get out of it, don't get me wrong, but some people stay on it. They end up in drugs, alcohol, and all these things. But like you said, whatever that was inside kind of keep you to like, hey, this is not what you want. You want the opposite of that. So we need to change that direction. And I think that drive inside us sometimes some people are missing it. That's the reason why sometimes they stay in the same environment for such a long time.
Yeah. No, especially like everything going on right now. I'm not sure how it is down there, but in Canada, we definitely are experiencing a housing and
Yes.
opioid issue epidemic. So it's really sad to see, and I wish I could like give some of my drive away to kind of support other individuals in the same situation. But
How did your early roles, like being a caretaker and working as an account payable, shape your skills and confidence?
yeah, so it was actually, believe it or not, my dad who was like, "Get this girl a job. She's back. She's doing a little bit better." So he actually ended up getting me a job as basically in accounting, so doing payroll and accounts payables and receivables. And let me tell you, like every day I went into work and I'm like, oh, this is awful. Like, is this what people do every day? Is this what life is? Like, how do people do this for the rest of their lives? And I was just so miserable, we'll say. And then the organization that he was working at, they had truckers. So there was only 5 of them. It was very small, and they were about to actually lose their ability to transport goods across the border. So like DOT in the US. And so they said, "Hey Sarah, fix this. Like you're good at reading legislation. Like go ahead." So we ended up like revamping the whole program. They ended up basically they were about to lose their ability to carry goods to being a top carrier in Canada and the ability to traverse it like across provinces and into the US, which was really good. So turning that around, I think everyone was like, "Oh, like she's really good with like policy and like boots on the ground and working with employees and influencing change." And they're like, "Oh, well, we actually need to improve our safety as well." And that's how it all kind of
You
started.
end up there. So, what was it like stepping into the role of operation coordinator? Like you said,
Yeah.
you're turning things around for the safety program. How was that compared to the before when you were like numbers, boring? I hate my job, dad. I think I'm starting to hate you too.
Yeah. I like obviously I was grateful for the opportunity. But I think it was almost like joy came to life. Like I didn't even like honestly, I don't know how many people like got into careers that they didn't even know existed. Like, no kid anywhere is like, yep, I want to be in health and safety or manage fleet when I get older. That's not a career that kind of pops up into mind. But when I started doing this job and seeing like all of the moving pieces and the legislation behind it and how like serious it is, like if you make one mistake, like you
Yeah.
could lose your ability to transport goods, or somebody could die on the roads, or something crazy like that. And all of a sudden it was like everything had meaning, like everything made sense, and it all kind of fit together in this like perfect puzzle piece. And I'm like, this is what I was meant to do. Like I didn't even know this was a job. How do I keep doing it?
Doing it. But eventually you decided to study health and safety, and also you study leadership. Why did you add that piece into that?
Yeah. So what happened was the organization was actually bought out by a full Canadian company, and they said, we don't really offer these roles where you get to do a little bit of this, a little bit of that. It's like fit in this one box, and that's what
Box.
we do. And they came and they said, do you want this job or do you want this job? So did I want to stay in like operations and fleet management, or did I want to go into a full-time occupational health and safety role? And at the time, I chose occupational health and safety. And that's kind of where the education and everything else kind of fell into place.
But after working in the field for several years, you decided you're gonna take a bigger leap and just start your own business. What inspired you to start Primera Consultant?
Yeah. So, with a lot of jobs, what kind of happens as you kind of advance in your career? So, typically, you'll work on the ground, you're working in the field with individuals, and then you move to a manager and maybe director or vice president of occupational health and safety for organizations. And as you move up in those roles, you kind of like lose why you're there in the first place. Like it's
Yeah.
all about balancing budgets and strategic direction and, things that kind of resemble accounting. So I had a quarter life crisis, like left and opened up Primera Consulting, which basically supports really small organizations. So all of our clients have around 50 employees or less.
Not bad.
And it's just kind of bridging that gap because not every business needs full-time health and safety, but you still have to meet the laws. You still need to get on jobs. You still need to protect like insurance claims and things like that. And they're hiring certain individuals that maybe don't have the skills and competencies to fill that gap that ends up costing the organizations more money or putting them in an inappropriate situation. And this model, I guess, fills that gap for really small organizations to have access to expertise on a very small or fractional basis.
I like that.
Mhm.
So so pretty much, let's say that like let's take Canada. Well, you are in Canada. Like Canada, you have different province. I believe that's how they call them, right?
Correct. Yes.
So will the rules be different in each province, or is it the same for each one of them?
Yeah. So here's the crazy part, I guess, about Canada. And I find it actually invigorating and so exciting. But so each province across Canada, including our territories up north, have different legislation for occupational health and safety, fleet, environment, um, occupiers like liability. So if someone comes into your business and they trips on a pallet, are you legally
Yeah.
responsible for that? Workers' compensation, which is equivalent to just like insurance if a worker gets injured. So, and it's different in every single province. And I find that very fascinating and exciting.
Of course.
It's hard to remember it all, but it really adds value to companies when you're like, yep, do this in Alberta, but don't do this in BC, right? So it's pretty cool.
It's a lot. How do you remember all these things?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. Like, and then you ask me to do like 6 times 6, and I'm like, what? What is that?
Well,
Um,
don't get me wrong. If you ask me 2 times 2, I probably will stop myself for a second. That wait, 2 times 2. Can I get back at you in that? I need to
yeah,
use
let
my
me grab my
phone.
calculator. I don't know. Maybe just the way, like, I don't know. We're all wired differently for some reason. That stuff just sticks for me, and it's easy. Yeah.
Do you also work with companies outside of Canada or just within Canada?
Yeah, so actually, cool tidbit, but one of our clients, they're actually expanding to Texas. So we're going to be working with OSHA a little bit, which is definitely new for me, but I think that's very exciting. And they actually are still a very small employer. So although they're expanding outside of Canada, um, they're still quite small. So they don't really have that need to be like, okay, yes, let's hire someone in Canada and the
Yeah.
US, and we'll all be good. So I think that's going to be very exciting for me. And it's also a new piece of legislation that I need to learn. So I'm excited.
So now you gotta come to United States and learn all the laws of rules of United States.
Yeah.
I wish you the best of
Yeah.
luck.
I'm ready for it.
You look ready for it. For some reason you enjoy this. It's like that's way too much laws, too many laws to remember in this world.
I know. But I don't know. It's exciting.
But you have the company for a few years now, so how do you like it? Do you miss working for someone, or are you enjoying working for yourself?
Yeah, what's so funny about that? And I don't know if other business owners think of this or what happens, but I'm like, oh yeah, I'm gonna work for myself. It's gonna be great. I can wake up when I want, go grab my kid, do whatever I want. And I don't think I've ever worked this many hours in my life. So like evenings, weekends, early mornings, holidays, you name
You
it.
can do all these things. Don't get me wrong, as a business owner myself, you can do all these things because I wanted to be with my son. I get to do that. I get to be with my son at home from the
Yeah.
time he was born until now. It's beautiful. But here's the catch: you work longer hours.
Yeah. Yeah, there's no such thing as like closing your laptop or turning off your
Yeah.
phone and just
Sometimes
being
I,
done.
I fall asleep with it in my head. So it's like, oh, it's only there. So I guess I can grab it and just continue what I was working on.
Oh my God, it's crazy, hey, but you know what? Like, I don't think I would ever change it for anything. Like, I don't think anyone could be like, yep, come and work back for a big company. I'd be like, no, thanks, I'm good.
I think I like the freedom. Yes, you work harder, but you are doing it for yourself,
Mhm.
for your family, not for someone else. It's like when you work harder and harder, you're putting the money into somebody else's pocket, right? On yours, when you work for yourself, and you even if you work 12 hours, 15 hours in a day, but you're doing it for you.
Yeah. It's pretty cool. Not like, and not only that, but for a difference that means something to you. So you're putting that effort into, like, I don't want to call a baby, but I love both my daughter and my business equally.
Well, they are
But
both they are both babies, except for one
yeah.
who doesn't cry.
Yeah, and like I don't know, like no blood, but lots of sweat and tears go into this, and I don't know, it's cool to kind of see everything come to fruition, and like your dream is, unfolding before your eyes. It's really cool, and it's a cool experience.
Yes, even if it's small, but it's still yours. And you're watching that small thing going up every single year, a little bit, even if it takes time, but it's your sweat. It's like, hey, my mom did this. And you
Yeah.
can like, yeah, I did this. Yeah. You
It's
know,
so cool. No, I
it
love
is
it. I
cool.
wouldn't cheat.
But you talking about that what would you say your biggest challenge uh, for running your own company?
Uh, like, I think, you know what? I'm gonna say this, and like I got two things. So thing number one is like I would say the biggest thing that I go through every single day is probably like imposter syndrome. Like I feel like I'm not smart enough or I'm not skilled enough or I don't have the proper
Yeah.
education or every day I wake up and I'm like, "Oh, should I be doing this? Is this right?" And I'm always like questioning myself or second guessing myself like if this is right and they'll be like, "Yep, I'm going to close the doors tomorrow. Like I don't deserve this." And it's like so frustrating. But then, like, every night I'm like, okay, I deserve this. I deserve to be here. I worked really hard. Like, while everyone else was out, like, going to parties and doing this and
Yes.
that, like, I was working on this, like my business. I deserve this. So, definitely imposter syndrome. And then like doing it all as a mom, a wife, like we sold all of our houses here and we're building a house right now all by ourselves. So like just like everything that's on our shoulders as like a female, like we're responsible for everything. And now a business on top of that is like insane to think about. It's crazy.
That is a lot. And on top of it, you decided to build a house from scratch.
I know.
I don't think I want to go that far. Even painting it was a lot of hard for me, so I don't know about building it. Yeah, I'll call you Sarah when I get to that level of life.
Perfect. Yeah. Yeah, give me a call anytime.
But you talk about moving away from long safety manuals to more usable tool. What does that look like in practice?
Yeah, so I'm not I like 100% you guys have the same issue down in the States, but in Canada, like I think one of the biggest things right now is so first of all, every business, no matter if you work as a hairstylist or you own a construction company, you have to have occupational health and safety mechanisms in place. And just the way that it's been going lately, like is chaos. People come in and employees are handed this 10,000 page manual and they go, here, read this will keep you safe. And it's
Oh,
just like when you really take a step back and you really look at it, it doesn't. So one of the things, I guess, one of the foundations of our business, like the business model itself, is we're not going to give you 1,000 page manual and expect you to implement it and hand it off and say, that's good enough. We really want to go, okay, what does your business look like? How did the operations work at your business? And these things are living. So if something doesn't work, the organization just comes back to us and goes, Sarah, this is terrible. Like this isn't working. And then we fix it. We try something different. And there's never any hard feelings or wrong answers unless it's against the legislation that we don't do. We have to follow legislation. But it's like, how can we make this easy, usable, and then so people aren't like dreading safety? Like it shouldn't be disgusting, it should be enjoyable. It should be a part of
but
every business. So I think that's one thing that we've done that our clients are loving.
so in another word, you're saying that you don't want people like me. You give the manual to look at it. That looks good. And put it aside. I got it, Sarah. Did you read it?
Yeah.
No, I did not read it. But I
Yeah.
nodded though.
See, no one reads them, so why not do something different? Make it functional, right?
Yeah, I like that. Do you plan maybe perhaps adding like something like workshop trainings?
So we actually started developing a software right now and a learning management system, and our goal is to make it like really affordable. So if you take a look at some of the big players, and this might not mean anything to some people, but there's Site Docs and there's Velocity, EHS, and Enable on. Even companies like Oracle have something put out for health and safety, and it's you take a look at the price tag, and for a small business at the end of the day, they're like, I can't afford like $500,000 in software fees for health and safety.
No.
No. So right now, fingers crossed, we have a software underway that's going to be, it costs us about $1,800 per client. And we're going to be doing like discounts for current clients. So they'll actually pay under that value because it helps us do our job, right?
Yeah.
And then for external clients, we're looking at about a 10 to 20% markup, nothing crazy. So it's in reach. The only caveat is we ask that you're a small business.
Oh, that's not bad. So when they pay that 1,800, is that a one-time fee, or we're talking about an annual fee or a monthly fee?
Oh, not monthly. No, no, no. But that would be annual. So it costs us
Annual.
1875 Canadian to run the software per client. So we're looking at, and that's per year. So we're looking at just increasing those costs a little bit
Yeah.
for other small businesses, and that would be a yearly cost. So full transparency, so they're able to, I don't know, finally access something that's within reach or within their financial restrictions
Financial.
as a small business. So
I like that. So it's a little bit less expensive well, a lot less expensive than the other
yeah,
companies. Yeah.
yeah.
But are you planning on making it available to anyone even outside of Canada, or is it just in Canada?
So I haven't thought about that actually. Like, so right now it's really geared towards Canadian legislation. So it's kind of ticking all of those right boxes in Canada, but Canada and US do typically mirror each other.
Yes.
So it could be available. But if you don't, like if you're not one of our full-time clients, you do pay that extra 10 to 20%.
100%.
Yeah.
Now, when you work with this, you say, oh, if they're not your client, it sounds like your clients stay with you long term. Because when I think about your business, I'm thinking like you come in, you tell them this is the rules, this is that. It was nice to meet you. Have a good day. But the way it sounds like that's not exactly what's happening. You kind of stay with them and continue to guide them. Can you kind of explain why?
Yeah. So far we have 100% retention rate, which is really cool and very impressive considering, we started in 2023. And the goal here is kind of, we're not paying, like, don't pay us to do a service for you. Like, go hire a different health and safety consultant. The world is full of them. You're hiring us to be your part-time employee. So we'll
Oh,
come to your barbecues, we'll go to your holiday parties. If you have summer events, like, we're there. If your employee in the middle of the night has a concern, like, they text us. So
oh,
we're like your in-house safety professional, just on a part-time or a fractional basis, because you're not at the point of your business fruition that you need someone full-time. So, and then it hasn't happened yet, but we do also support in hiring a full-time health and safety professional if the time comes where the organization kind of outgrows our needs. So we'll actually help them find somebody that fits their needs, get them trained up so that the organization is like completely, they're integrated into it, but they're removed, and it just kind of happens seamlessly. So it's really cool.
so I see. Now I understand. Pretty much you guys come as a part-time and you like a part of the team. Just
Yeah.
not all you're not on site all the time, I will say. And it's less money. So it's a way to save money.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So we have this like kind of pitch, right? So if you take a look at, so health and safety professionals in Canada make anywhere from, 50,000 a year to $200,000 a year, depending
Wow.
on their education, qualifications, expertise, that kind of stuff. So typically for a trained individual, you're looking between 80 and 120 right now. So someone that has a few letters behind their name, went to school, um, that kind of stuff. So for a small business, especially, you don't quite have the need for it, or you don't have the demand, or you couldn't actually fill up, a 40-hour work week. That's a lot of money to justify. And typically one thing that organizations know, but individuals forget, is for every full-time hire, you have all of the insurance and government taxes and
Yes.
income and stuff like that. So that's no longer $80,000. That's $80,000 plus 20%. So it's, and that can be a tough pill to swallow for a small organization that doesn't really need that role full time. So that's where we kind of come in, and, for a fraction of that, we can offer the same services, the same level of expertise, the same quality, that same employee feeling, just on a part-time basis.
Yeah, part-time basis. So as someone who you build your career from the ground up, what advice would you give to women who feel stuck or let's say unsure where to start?
I guess I don't know. It was so, I'll be honest, there were nights that I cried. I was upset I didn't have enough clients, or I was upset I was running debt. I was like, oh my gosh, how am I ever going to pay back this money? And I don't know, just don't give up. If you really believe in your business and you believe it's a good idea, you believe it's going to make a difference, you believe, obviously, people do have to buy what you're selling. So, make sure it's a good business idea, but don't give up. Keep pushing, do weird things that make you feel so uncomfortable. But it's necessary for the business. So even there were times I felt like I was going to throw up networking, and I'm like, oh, just say your name. But I was like, those little things, now I just walk in and I'm like, hey, my name is Sarah. I own Primera Consulting. What do you got for safety? And it's so natural. So just do it 1,000 times and then it won't feel that way. Do not give up.
And how can anyone reach out to you?
Yeah, so obviously you can find me on LinkedIn, so Sarah Frank, or you can take a look at our website, so primeraconsulting.ca.
And one last question for you. Would you take any clients from the United States?
Oh, yes. Hands down. Secretly, I might want a house down there one day, so I need to start networking now.
I feel like you're going to come and build it. Definitely.
Yeah. Got a few laws to learn before I do that, but
you'll work on it. Well, thank you so much, Tara, for giving me the chance to have this conversation with you. I appreciate it.
Perfect. Thanks so much for having me, and I hope you have a great afternoon.
Thank you for listening to Female Founders Podcast. That's it for this week's episode. Be sure to follow us on your favorite podcast app or connect with us on womel.com so that you don't miss our next episode. See you next time. Bye for now.